Good morning, everybody. Today is Monday, April 6th. Thanks so much for joining us in Humanities 3. So I hope everybody has had a good weekend. It looks like it's going to be a beautiful week this week, and I hope that means that it will bring about some extra time outside, more happiness and health to all of you. So we're going to get started with some of last week's material. The reason for that is you guys had a mini QPA due last week, and unfortunately I haven't received many submissions for that. So if you're one of those people who still needs to get it in, please make sure to do so. I would love to have feedback and grades put in no later than tomorrow. So if you can help me accomplish that goal by accomplishing your goal, that would be awesome. But we're actually going to go back to something from last week. So materials that you might need today, you're going to need something to write with. You're going to need a notebook or just a worksheet from last week. That's marked off. I think it's March 30th, actually, just for today's. Well, you can use either March 30th or April 2nd, April 1st, because those are going to have the same objective. But I just want to make sure that you have something somewhere to write down your thoughts and notes and everything. So here we go. So we're going to do a little screen share with you. And you guys are going to want to have those materials. If you haven't got them already, pause your video and I'll be right back. I'll be right here waiting for you. Okay, so under your country investigation, you guys are going to have this right here, right? So you guys have country investigation and you have the PowerPoint, and in the PowerPoint now are all the questions that you need to answer. So one of the questions that, based on conversations and things that we had last week, from what I'm seeing, is that we need a little bit more help on this. What type of geography does the country you choose have? So first off, we want to figure out, what does geography mean, right? So what is geography? If you don't know what that is, I'm going to put some notes in here just so you have an idea. I'm actually going to put them in the speaker notes because I want you to have a clear idea of what geography is. So geography is the land and resources of a particular area and how it influences human interactions. Okay, so that's all geography is. We're going to look outside. We're going to see different types of geography depending on where you live, depending on what continent you are, even depending on what hemisphere you live in. So keep that in mind as we're going through this question. So what type of geography does the country you choose have? So we were doing our class study on Rwanda, right? Remember this website right here at the CIA.gov World Factbook page. So if you need to figure out how to get to your specific country, you're just going to do a drop down and choose your country there. Keep in mind that your country should either be an African, South American, or Asian country. Okay. So we chose Rwanda. And if we scroll down to the end here, we're going to look at geography for Rwanda. And it's going to tell me a lot of information in terms of like where in Africa it is. It's going to give me coordinates. It's going to tell me how much of it is land and water and so forth, right? So that information is all really helpful, but it's not going to give me necessarily like a good understanding, because if I look at coordinates, that doesn't really mean anything to me. Just as a person, because that's not something that I am familiar with, right? But if I'm looking at the area, so that's the total area of how big the country itself is, then this is how many square kilometers. Remember, it's in kilometers because we're not in the United States. And this is out of that total, look at how much of it is land, okay? Most of that country is just land, 24,000 plus square kilometers out of the 26 kilometers. And it has very little water. The other thing that we need to be aware of is that it says that it's in Central Africa. So if I look at a map of Africa, and this is what you would be doing, right? Map of Africa. And I want to see a good map so that way I can figure out where Rwanda is. Let's do this one. And this might be an older map. You're going to want to look at a map and figure out where is your country based on the information that you have. So we knew that we were going to the central part of, I'm trying to find the CIA page. There we go. We knew that we were going to be in Central Africa. It's east of the DRC, the Democratic Republic of Congo, right? So we're right here. Okay, so we're not by water, we're not anywhere near like any sort of ocean or anything like that in terms of the placement of Rwanda, right? Agreed? Okay, so we know water is going to be scarce, right? And scarce means that we don't have a lot of water. All right, so we're going to get rid of that map there just so we needed to make sure that we have a placement of where we are. And the other thing that I want you to look at when you look at the geography is right here, right? So we're going to look at the terrain and we're going to look at the climate. So we know that they have 2 rainy seasons. And the weather is like milder in the mountains with frost and snow. So they have some seasons. It's not like it's just hot and dry the whole time. And then you can see here mostly grassy uplands and hills, and it's mountainous. Okay, so that area there's a lot of mountains, there's a lot of hills. There's not like a lot of flat land that would probably make good agricultural land, except for the fact that we know one of their major exports is coffee. Okay, so all of those things are gonna be contributing factors to what their geography is. Now, when we look at the land use, almost 75% of it is actually for agriculture. And agriculture isn't just for growing things, right? We know that that's also if you're raising cattle, things like sheep or goats or cows or things like that, those are all part of it. So if I'm going to answer this question, right, what type of geography does the country you choose have? I'm not just going to talk about how much of it is land and water, but I want to talk about the actual central location. So I'm going to put this as an example one in here. Remember, anything that's in red on your PowerPoint and on your Google Slides needs to be changed, right? So, and it needs to be changed in a different color too. Make sure you're not just using my same color font. So example for Rwanda. So this is, I'm going to walk you through exactly how I would like this. So the geography of Rwanda is made up of 75% agricultural land, and the country is landlocked. They don't have a lot of access to water. And let's see if there's some other information that I can pull from here. Right here, like the terrain and climate, we want to mention those, right? So they don't have a lot of access to water, and it's made up of mostly grassy uplands. Is that what it said? Was uplands? Grassy uplands and hills, yeah. Okay, so here's the other big part that I want to look into in terms of geography, right? So it talked about, we looked at land use. We also want to think about the natural resources that they have there. So they have a couple of different things: gold, they have tin ore, they have tungsten ore, methane, hydropower, and arable land. Arable land, again, is just land that can be, something can be grown on, okay? So I would list those types of things here under part of the geography. But I'm going to put that into a different, so they have many geographical resources that help their daily life. And you can copy and paste those there. The other place that you can put those natural resources is just right under that section of natural resources, okay? So this is just more for like my placement of things. Now, here's your next question. And this is where things are gonna get a little bit trickier. So your next question is, how does the geography of your country affect its economy? Okay, so one thing that we discovered with Rwanda is that most of their land use is for farming, right? Like that's what they're able to do based on the resources and location of their country that they have. So we're going to talk about that in this slide. And one of the other big things that we want to be aware of is that Rwanda has some awesome exports. So I'm going to show you how I found them. Okay, so right here at africa.upn.edu, it's going to tell me that the major exports are coffee, tea, tin. These are all those different kinds of ore, right? So coffee makes up between 50 to 80% of their total exports. So that's 50 to 80% they are sending out of whatever they are able to grow and things like that. That 50 to 80% is obviously mostly coffee. So think about it. How much does a cup of coffee cost, right? Not very much typically. It's not like it's oil or something like that where, you know, by the gallon, we would pay several dollars for a gallon. Whereas coffee, you actually do pay a little bit more per gallon. But if I was just going to buy, and I have it over here on my counter, but if I was just going to buy like a bag of coffee, it might cost like $8. Whereas this amount and the process that goes through making a gallon of gas, right, is going to be a lot more, and therefore the value of it is a lot more, because most people who, if you own a car or you own a house that requires some sort of oil heat or something like that, you're going to need access to gas, right? Whereas not everybody needs, though I might argue, coffee. So how does the geography of your country affect its economy? Well, there's a couple ways for Rwanda, right? So we're going to put Rwanda example just so we all know that this is my answer and not the answer that you should keep. So coffee and tea are major exports of Rwanda. Because of that, and we have to think about the fact that, okay, they're farmers, right? So they're not making tons of money. Most people, especially in the coffee industry, are not making a ton of money. And I know this because if I was to go back to my CIA World Factbook page and I wanted to actually look at the section that talks about the economy, I'm going to see that my GDP per capita per person, and this is from a couple years ago, is only $2,100, which in the United States, we know that the GDP per capita is around 50 grand, right? So that's a vast, vast gap of income or money that this country per person is able to spend, okay? And you want to mention here the GDP per capita for your country, because that's going to give you it's going to show your reader that you have a better understanding of that. Is only and you can choose a different country besides the United States. I just knew that that was one that we had looked over in the past. Okay, So that is what I want you to work on. I want you to work on having a good understanding of those 2 questions, especially if you're needing help in terms of finding that information, or you're just like, I really don't get it, please reach out, okay? So I want you guys to know that I'm here during the day, and you can always text or call or whatever, even in the evenings, and I will answer questions. I want to be involved. I want to make sure that you're learning this and understanding it, and I want to make sure that you guys feel comfortable with this information because it's all new. Okay, so we're set with that lesson today. I do need you to get those mini QPA number 2 complete and turned in. That's your goal. Okay. The other thing that I'm going to be doing for you as a resource is I'm going to be creating a list of vocabulary words. There's not a ton, it's like 15 vocabulary words for you. And you guys will have a Quizlet for that online. So you may need to sign up for that account. Otherwise, you should just have access to it. Okay, so 2 things going on for the first couple days of the week. One is turn in mini QPA 2. Turn in mini QPA 2. If you've already turned it in, go back and revise for the things that we talked about today. The second thing 2, that you're gonna do is you're gonna look for the Quizlet online and go through that and make sure that you understand fully those 15 terms, okay? Because there's gonna be some stuff coming up later this week that I really want you to do well on and make sure that you understand those terms. And I'll be honest, those terms are gonna be something that you absolutely have to know for your final QPA. All right, guys, that's all for today. Look out for the updates on Google Classroom. Make sure you're answering that discussion question, and I'll see you tomorrow at 9:30 to 9:50 on Google Hangouts. Take a look at your calendar, and I'll send a reminder email also. Bye, guys. Take care.